Good evening. Ira Epstein with your metal market wrap-up, and this wrap-up is for the evening of Tuesday, the 27th of September, 2022, time about 6:20 p.m. Central Time. So the metal market's stable is the only word I could use. I use that because while the bonds and notes tonight are up a little bit, you do know you went to 395 on the 10-year note. So here is a market that we thought would be hanging between 3.5 and 3.75 for a long time. Forget that. It moved up to near 4%. And in the process, instead of the curve yield going out like that, it came back a little bit and trading closer to 30 instead of the 50 level it was just 2 days ago. A lot of havoc going on in the interest rate sector, be it out of the UK, be it here in America. That's what's going on. Now, when we come to the metal markets, you can see that the gold is still stuck near a 2-year low. It's not going to get much reprieve as long as interest rates continue to ratchet up. The dollar today was stable. That's the best word you can use. But as the markets are reopening tonight, they're going to be up a little bit when that index reopens. In other words, dollar will be up, and that's probably putting a little bit of pressure on the metal markets at this point. As we look at the energy markets, they are just sort of sitting right here. The game's going to ratchet up dramatically. Russia formally told OPEC it wants a reduction in output by OPEC Plus. And OPEC Plus now has to decide, and the word is 1 million barrels a day to stabilize this market. So we'll see if they go with that. We'll see what the impact will be. Now remember, they don't meet their quotas to begin with. So if they're going to go a true million, it's got to come from who? The Saudis, Russia, different areas are going to have to do that in order to stabilize prices. You know why Russia wants it. It's got to pay for this war effort that it has. Russia's going to kick up, and this will affect gold. You're coming to the end of the referendum. The vote will be in. It's going to be in landslide in favor of Russia. Russia, by October 4th, their parliament, as I'll call it for our words, will vote probably to annex. Putin will obviously go with what the people want. He will then say that the nuclear umbrella falls over that, and attacks by Ukraine to reclaim its legit land is an attack on Mother Russia in reality, and you're back to this whole nuclear nightmare. Does he have the finger to push it, and what would happen if that happens? So in the end, I mentioned that it's hard to want to get overly bearish gold because you just don't know what the crazy level is that's going to happen with this madman. And that's the only way that I could put it. He is putting everything he has on this war. His own people, I have a question. People are leaving the border. I do believe that the news we're seeing is not just propaganda. I believe that the lines to get over the border, the young people running, are legit because I'm looking at too many different news sources showing it. It's not the U.S. You know, if it's the U.S., I have my doubts. Don't get mad at me on that, but all of us have propaganda in the news. But as I look around, and I definitely go on all the news sites all over the world to find if that's going on, I see it going on. The other thing is the sabotage that went on, and that's what we think it is with the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. It certainly looks like something amiss there. Remember, that hasn't delivered any gas anyways, but it was full of gas, and suddenly it's leaking. 2 eruptions, tremors were measured off the coast. Legitimately, something happened. Whatever it is, the word is sabotage. I know as much as you do. When we come to the weekly chart of gold, you're down 1.15%, down $19 for the week. The market hasn't had much of a bounce at all. The pattern is one of a higher high, lower low. The market is staying under the 18-week moving average. That is very bearish, continued, and it does just what it has to stay in a true bear market. Instead of locking in day after day under a Bollinger Band, it gets under it, it moves back over it, and so on. In the meantime, you have an embedded reading, which to me means rallies in the market are likely to get sold. And until the red line closes back over 21, the traders will look to sell it with the idea that the market is going lower. I've given you the what-if scenario that can be in the pattern there for the gold with what happens in Russia. Beyond that, I don't see anything else that really can be supportive to the market. When I look at the gold-silver ratio, this is about where silver market and the gold market should see maybe silver start gaining back on the gold. The challenge of the 18-day moving average of closes difference. Silver doesn't act like a market that has the wherewithal to get down to the 1770 level. It certainly could, but it doesn't act like it since it's already oversold. In the copper market, you just keep running down. Now, I like what I'm hearing. I'm hearing from different sources as the Party Congress gets ready for the October 16th in China that there is a review going on with the zero tolerance policy in China. What have I been saying for the better part of 6 months? I said it's a draconian policy. It makes no sense. Nothing about it makes sense. There were rumors and then some fact that China had reached out to Pfizer, Moderna, and different of the Western medicine to see about vaccines. We may wake up one day and say, okay, they have decided they're going to import vaccines. They're going to release that policy. You've seen Hong Kong has changed some of the policies already. And maybe, just maybe, that will happen. If that is the case, it helps mitigate some of the pressure on copper, but nothing takes away in copper the fact that interest rates around the world are running away. The question is, do they run so far in interest rates you break the market? I'm not just talking copper. I'm talking everything. Do you break the market? See, it's different when one country's goes, but when everybody's going, what happens is demand for copper out of China. Well, China doesn't have business then from the West as they pull back because people aren't buying things. It sounds good, but I'll tell you, I got confused today. I looked at the U.S. new home sales and I'm going, what the heck, 28% jump. Where's that coming from with interest rates soaring? Remember, I just said 10-year notes, 3.95. You can only imagine what that's going to do for mortgages. They're going to soar up again this coming week when they reset. So as I look at it, there's so many surprises, but is that just in the United States where the U.S. consumer is so strong? Things you got to think about. When we look at the platinum market, you can see how the market's slipping back. I wrote today in one of my articles showing people why platinum and palladium have held up so well. And if you think of where they come from in Africa and the energy use and the shutdown of the energy, you begin to understand the supply problems that are happening there. I hope you read that story in my newsletter. Those of you that aren't paid subscribers don't get to see that information. So I'm looking to see if this market drops. If it does, then the Bollinger Band comes into play. You're already oversold. It's hard to get short markets that are oversold. And in the palladium, you went right down to what I thought could be the support. We talked about it day after day here, that if it broke back, the 100-day might act as support. And not only it went back up, challenged the 18-day, and they're sort of stuck in there right now. Again, an oversold market. So the metal market's being oversold. Oversold, from my point of view, doesn't attract new selling. Embedded does. So if you go from being oversold and you bring both the blue and the red and you go sideways under there, it's fine. But this market doesn't like to embed. So I'm thinking more or less this market's not going to get that type of pattern. It's going to find support. And last, the dollar index. So how do we sit with the dollar index? Well, if you and I take a look together, you have 1, 2, 3. Let's see if I can find out if I can get that to work. It's not going to do it for me. I'm sorry. I think you have your 4th or 5th day today of the dollar, which means it's ripe to come down count. If you're at 5, you generally don't get to a 6th day before the market moves to the right-hand side of that. So I look at all that and I say to myself, okay, what do you do with it? Well, one of the things you do is you start looking to see the different reports that are out there, what the dollar wants to do. As long as interest rates are going to keep going higher, that's going to be the game. We have Fed president upon Fed president voting once. keep saying, let's keep going with these interest rates. Let's keep raising them to break the back of inflation. That is bullish the dollar. But there is a number where the market starts breaking back inside the Bollinger Band. If it's embeds, you want to then be a buyer. If not, I wait for the market to give me the opportunities. Now, one other thing that I want to remind you of, if you go to our website at iraepstein.com, we have up our special report on stock indices. It comes off the website tomorrow. It's only there for 3 business days. I can tell you this much. Today was the day where, basis the report and the recommendations I put out, my clients were able to sell a good rally today, basis what this is report about, and reap some rewards. Does it always work out that way? Well, you know what trading is. No trader walks on water. But this is one that I figured out, took a look at, and I think you'll get a good feel about what you see on it. So if you're interested, it talks about Bollinger Bands, embedding, slow stochastics, seasonals, what I'm expecting in the market. And then I tied it together with today's recommendations in the market, which if you don't get them, if you go to our website for free offers, and you haven't signed up for the free offers, you can get a free couple-week trial to my recommendations if you're not in the database, having already done that. We have a pretty good database. I'd love to give it to you, love you to see everything that my paid subscribers get. I'm Ira Epstein. It's going to be wild tomorrow, I promise you that. Plus, remember, we have the hurricane coming in, and it's going to be a disaster for the Tampa region, Sarasota. Too much rain. Even if the winds don't do it, that kind of rain, you are looking at a disaster in the making. I'm Ira. My best to all the people there. You have a good evening.